people, Nigeria, they say they want to fight corruption because the vice president said this their own turn to fight corruption, to bring the people where be say that they eat things for Nigeria. He said they want to do it without no compromising, without they not go look your status, they not go look your class, they go they draw that they come at. And this morning, I did read say Tinubu inherits debts from the previous president, okay? Which is, if the previous president consume a lot for top of our head, he's supposed come out to come give us waiting he do with the money, or am I wrong? So when I see the new updates,
It was an albatross round the neck of the nation 20 to 30 years. We understood why our predecessor made the decision to remove the subsidy, but there was no sufficient budget for it in the fiscal year. But you and I are in a position to understand how such miscalculations have played out in other countries. It's an economic death sentence. I truly wish there was a shortcut to our promised land, but the only shortcut available is to restart not by offering placebos to the nation, which I guarantee will motivate both the present and the future generation. We will start not by making a mincemeat of the Buhari administration. Governance is about continuum. He was here, he did his best, and he moved them. Our responsibility is for us to continue from where he stopped. Our promise is to wage war against corruption without interference or favoritism is being fulfilled. The ongoing high-profile cases indicate a new era of accountability. The administration's revenue drive is on track to deliver outstanding results with the continued digitization of revenue collection in all ministries, departments, and agencies. A month after the withdrawal of the fuel subsidy.
All right, Ayo, I believe you dealt with this a little bit earlier on the show, but also wanted to just, allude to the fact that we had discussed this when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu attended the World Economic Forum, where he talked about, the removal of petrol subsidy. And obviously a lot of Nigerians are saying, is it really true that subsidy is really gone? But also he addressed the corruption case and the fight against, corruption, which I thought was really fair because, as we know, the Kogi State governor, who is an APC member, is facing corruption charges. But let me take some reactions from Nigerians before you speak, Ayo. This person wrote, Tinubu, I make difficult decisions. Fuel subsidy is gone. Shetima, Buhari did not get budget for fuel subsidy in 2023 budget, aka Buhari removed fuel subsidy. IMF, Tinubu paying more in subsidy now. APC is a cruise. Well, another Twitter user there goes, right now, every poor citizen is feeling the negative impact of Buhari's economic policies during his time in office as a result of his removal of subsidy and borrowing from IMF and World Bank. The poor is plunged deeper into untold suffering and searing hardship. Are we to blame who? And that's the main question. Who are we to blame if we're not going to blame Buhari? Yes.
Right. So, Vice President Kashim Shettima had said that, even though they didn't want to look back, they are now in government. But
Yes.
we must talk about the failed state of economy that the previous administration left this nation. Nigeria was on its knees by the time President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took office. And unfortunately, still under the same APC umbrella that both men are governing. Unfortunately, like Mr. Kashim Shettima said, it would have been difficult for anyone who had stepped into the shoes to have not taken difficult decisions as a result of how the economy was on the road to economic recovery. However, what some people might argue, or what I might argue this morning, is that the manner in which it was done might have been what would have differentiated leaders in terms of who became president. There's no doubt about it, and he alluded to the fact that all the major presidential candidates had talked about the removal of fuel subsidy. It was not going to be part of the equation. But what people are saying, and someone said, poor Nigerians. It's not poor Nigerians. Every Nigerian at different levels have been impacted by the hardship caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. Some of the things that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had announced in terms of a cushion for the removal of fuel subsidy and the attendant hardship, most of them already have not been fulfilled. So the poor have gone poorer. Subsidy, we don't know whether it's been removed or not, because if you calculate it, 1 + 1 equals 2, it doesn't add up.
But you are seeing Kashim Shettima here re-emphasizing the fact that there was not even there.
So if we are suffering for something that is still in place, then it's a big issue.
Absolutely.
So what I would ask this government to do is, whilst trying as much as possible to defend the difficult decision they had to take, and we understand that, is let the lives of people at least be bearable in the interim. We understand that we're on the road to economic recovery, but on that process, can you when you're traveling on a long journey, give us a pillow to sit on so that at least the journey can be bearable. Some of the things he mentioned, the metric tons of food we're going to distribute, student loans, all of them are still in discussion talk. They are still in conversation talks. CNG buses, minimum wage, everything still conversation. Almost 1 year later, absolutely. It's a shame. So it almost feels like, and not just almost feels like, a policy that wasn't thought through, and unfortunately, Nigerians have to bear the brunt of it.
Absolutely. Well said, Ayo. I mean, we are seeing Kashim Shettima here saying that we're not blaming Buhari, but of course the Tinubu administration, members of the Tinubu administration, including Nuhu Ribadu, has blamed the past administration, saying that, we've inherited a bankrupt economy. But Rufai, earlier you guys also took a story. The police had apprehended the people that were behind the Kaduna train attack, and we must commend the police for that as well. But there's a bigger issue, which leads me to my next story. Family members of a young man, Afam Oluwafemi, was allegedly arrested by officers of the Nigerian police force in May 2019, have taken to social media to cry for help and seek justice, as well as any information regarding his whereabouts. Afam Oluwafemi was last seen at the trade fair market in Lagos. According to eyewitnesses, he was arrested by the Nigerian police and taken to the trade fair police station. Afam Oluwafemi's brother was said to have tried to bail his brother out, but was told at the trade fair police station that Afam Oluwafemi was not there, even though his name was said to have been boldly written in their register. A letter by Afam Oluwafemi's family lawyers detailed how the search for Afam Oluwafemi became futile for 5 years, until April 13th, when an inmate who was released from Badagry prison in February revealed that he had spent time with Afam Oluwafemi at the prison. However, till date, the police have no official record of Afam Oluwafemi. The lawyers and family members are asking the Nigerian police to provide details regarding Afam Oluwafemi's whereabouts. Dr. Abati.
Well, okay. Just to talk about how this is about fundamental human rights.
Right.
And the state of the justice administration system in Nigeria. Wondering, I don't know what Afam Oluwafemi was arrested for. Wandering is not an offense. If you are in Nigeria, you have the freedom of movement. You can walk about anyhow. But you have many people who get arrested for something as irrelevant as wandering. Police can just pick you up and they take you into their custody. And you become an awaiting trial person, and you may not be charged. So this is the kind of criminality that we find on the part of the police. Section 35 of the Nigerian Constitution is very clear. If you get arrested for anything whatsoever, Afam Oluwafemi may have been arrested for, it should be charged within 48 hours, 72 hours, at a court that is nearest to the place of detention. And then we are being told that somebody was detained for 5 years. That's absolute criminality on the part of the arresting body, the police in this case. That's absolute violation of the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But the more tragic part of this story is that Afam Oluwafemi, his story is the story of all Nigerians.
And that's the point I'm trying to make here.
To the extent that, look, anybody can be a victim like that.
Absolutely.
Our detention centers, they don't keep records. Our prisons don't have proper data. So you live in a country that is an open prison. You should just pray that you don't get picked up by the police. 5 years, and then people are, he has suddenly become a disappearing object.
Yeah.
Somebody said we saw him in prison. Another person said, we don't know where he is. These are issues also.
Serious issues.
About fundamental human rights that the Tinubu administration will need to look into.
Right.
Ozoemena Afamefuna story is a story of the Nigerian.
Absolutely.
Whose rights are routinely violated, and this is the thing we keep saying about the impunity of the police, who should focus on their job, understand their job, rather than using their positions to be businessmen.
Yes. Well, very well said, Dr. Abati, and thank you for highlighting that. And I thought it was important to highlight this story for a response by the Department of Police. Well, before we take our next story, we'd like to take time out to congratulate Princess Owowo on her recent achievement at the United Kingdom's Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. On April 12th, Owowo graduated from the Royal Military Academy as the first ever Nigerian female officer. Owowo joined the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna in 2018, where she was appointed as a cadet lance corporal. In her second year, she rose to a cadet sergeant in her fourth year and was appointed Company Senior Under Officer Charlie. In her fifth year, Owowo held the appointment with two other female counterparts and made history as the first female to assume the position of Cadet Senior Under Officer. I mean, congratulations. I tried to take this story the whole week, but I just thought,
24.
yes, she's only 24. Well, congratulations. We'll take another story. According to the Daily Trust, some repentant Boko Haram insurgents on Tuesday night invaded a police station in Maiduguri in an attempt to set free their colleagues that were arrested over alleged drug offenses. The police public relations officer in Borno State, Kenneth Daso, however, confirmed that the assailants were repelled by officers on duty following an intelligence report that some drug peddlers and repentant Boko Haram insurgents were indulging in nefarious activities, adding that 8 persons were arrested with 476 grams of illicit substances. The ASP also stated that the repentant insurgents also attacked the Nigeria Immigration Service and NDLEA checkpoints at the township gate and burnt it down. However, eyewitnesses told the Daily Trust that about 20 repentant insurgents dressed in military camouflage, wielding cutlasses, forcefully gained access into the police station and whisked away some suspects, leaving some policemen on duty wounded. Rufai, I don't know if you did read this story, but this is the issue about repentant Boko Haram insurgents that we have been talking about over, for how many years now? I believe that the governor of Borno State had addressed it at one point, saying that, I believe it was in 2021, saying that, this de-radicalization program is not actually working. But you see that these people are still perpetrating crime in Borno State. But before I come to you, let me take this other story so we can mix both of them. In the meantime, an investigation by Arewa Punch has revealed that repentant female Boko Haram insurgents have expressed concern that since their reintegration into the society, it has been very difficult for them to get married, as law-abiding men in the society avoid them like a plague. Some of the leaders in their communities say that their men are scared of venturing into any form of romance with the surrendered female insurgents, despite the fact that some of the ladies have been expressing their secret desire for suitors to marry them. The community leaders also stated that if the women do not get married, they may be tempted to renege on their repentance vow from terror activities and return to the forest. The Arewa report put the official number of surrounded insurgents and their families at 162,000, but no records show the number of spinsters, divorcees, or widows amongst them. Rufai, over to you on both stories.
So I think, to a large extent, what we should start to do now is to start studying. It's been over 10 years since insurgency started. We should start studying the psychological effects of Boko Haram and insurgency on Nigerian society and how it has shaped our consciousness. Because this is not the only story I want to refer to.
Yes.
I want to refer to the story of the ladies that came here the other day, and they talk about the fact that even in the school they are in, they are being greatly marginalized, the Chibok girls. So how are people dealing with this trauma? It's a thing of study, and we need to be able to look at ways to be able to sensitize society, because society is hard enough, it's less educated enough, and you now have traumas like this. How are we going to be able to manage them? Are they going to be integration quotas? What are we going to do as regards this? I mean, that's what some people are saying. Let's make argument for mass marriages so that they can marry people that capture them. But I don't think that's the way forward. We need to be able to look for a societal model that works. And it's something we've not been able to study, because it's post 10 years. And it's a subject of very great scholarly matter. And anyway, this keeps continuing. Till date, over 70 years, we still have films that talk about the First World War, 1917 and all of that. So it's still a recurring decimal. So this is still happening. And how can we solve it, once and for all? Because that's the psychological aspect. But also as regards the, the repentant Boko Haram people. Obviously the radicalization is not working, because you see the ecosystem that created the crime still thrives in the first place. Like I would normally say, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. You radicalize them and you put them back into the poverty-ridden society that caused them to be able to veer off in the first place. They will still go back to them. So all the ingredients is even there. It's even worse off. After the Metiseni riot in the 80s, there was a post-study done as regards the remote cause of the Metiseni riot, and they discovered it was because of the underdevelopment, the poverty, and the other issues. And they predicted then that if something is not done about it, something worse than the Metiseni riots that happened in the 80s is going to happen. And that's the Boko Haram insurgency we're seeing today. We don't know that there's a direct effect on business. The shutdown of the textile industry, which is one of the greatest provision of jobs in the north, has gone. All of the business sectors, all of them have gone, and you have people that increasingly have nothing.
Yes.
So that's why the deradicalization is not working, and crime pays because they make a higher markup from crime. So what do we do? Number one, the first thing we should be able to do is, apart from having the very strong approach, we also need to bring back a rehabilitation to that area and reindustrialization. We set up a Northeast Development Commission. But the question is, the North has been radically deindustrialized because of insurgency over the years and the economic situation. So how do we reindustrialize the North to be able to get a lot of jobs out? Secondly, constant education and government investment in social welfare and development. Hospitals, things like that, schools and things like that. I mean, some arguments can be made for that. And lastly, we need to take these bandits and these criminals head on.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are some that are a hopeless case in society. There are some that will never be redeemed.
Yes.
So you need to be able to take on and head on and fight them, and also bolster the police system to be able to fight them. And all that thing. And most importantly, the politicians should stop giving cover to these criminals, because these are the same criminals they use for election. So it's a chain reaction in society.
It's a very big topic. But these repentant insurgents, I believe the Commissioner for Women Affairs in Borno State had stated that these repentant insurgents are not real terrorists. That's one of the points that she had made before.
I would like to make just some quick points. Now,